Welcome back to Math Olympiad Academy. In Lesson 54, we tackle a deceptively simple definite integral that frequently acts as a gatekeeper in competitive exams and Math Olympiads. While it looks straightforward, it requires specific mathematical tricks and techniques. Our objective is to evaluate this integral analytically, step by step, explaining each method throughout the lesson. We will then verify and compare our results using a computational analysis. Stay with us as we integrate it together, gradually and methodically. Here is our problem statement. Let capital I be the definite integral from 0 to 1 of x cubed minus x squared divided by the natural logarithm of x with respect to x. The challenge is clear. Can you evaluate the exact value of the integral I? Well, before starting the solution, let's observe the boundaries of integration, 0 and 1. At the lower bound, x equals 0. The natural logarithm of x is undefined. At the upper bound, x equals 1. The natural logarithm of 1 equals 0, making the integrand a 0 over 0 indeterminate form. So, the integrand is undefined at both boundaries. This integral must initially be treated as an improper integral. To overcome this obstacle, let us begin with a boundary analysis. We will first examine the behavior of the integrand as x approaches 0 from the right. To do this, let g of x equal x cubed minus x squared divided by the natural logarithm of x, where x belongs to the open interval from 0 to 1. At the lower bound, as x approaches 0 from the right, the limit of g of x equals 0. At the upper bound, as x approaches 1 from the left, the function g of x yields a 0 over 0 indeterminate form. To resolve this indeterminate form, we apply L'Hopital's rule. As x tends to 1 from the left, we evaluate the limit of g of x by differentiating the numerator and denominator. The derivative of the numerator gives 3x squared minus 2x, while the derivative of the denominator, the natural logarithm of x, is 1 over x. This yields the limit as x approaches 1 from the left of the quantity 3x squared minus 2x divided by 1 over x. Substituting x equals 1 gives 3 minus 2 divided by 1. This simplifies exactly to 1. Thus, the limit as x approaches 1 from the left of g of x equals 1. Since the limit at 0 from the right and the limit at 1 from the left both exist and are finite, the endpoints are removable discontinuities. We now construct a continuously extended function, f of x, over the closed interval from 0 to 1. When x equals 0, f of x equals 0. For x strictly between 0 and 1, f of x equals g of x. When x equals 1, f of x equals 1. Next, we express our original integral as capital I equals the integral from 0 to 1 of f of x with respect to x, which is equivalent to the integral of x cubed minus x squared divided by the natural logarithm of x with respect to x. To apply Feynman's integration technique, we replace the exponent 3 with a continuous parameter t. We then construct a new function, I of t, defined as the integral from 0 to 1 of the quantity x raised to t minus x squared divided by the natural logarithm of x with respect to x. Using this technique, our original integral, denoted by I, simply corresponds to the function I of t evaluated at t equals 3. We now apply Feynman's technique by differentiating I of t with respect to the parameter t. By Leibniz's rule, since the integration bounds are constant, we can safely move the derivative operator inside the integral sign. This brings the partial derivative directly into the integrand. Consequently, the derivative of I with respect to t equals the integral from 0 to 1 of the partial derivative with respect to t of the quantity x raised to t minus x squared, all divided by the natural logarithm of x with respect to x. Let us compute this partial derivative with respect to t. The term x squared is considered as a constant, so its derivative is 0. For the term x raised to t, we apply the standard exponential rule, which yields x raised to t multiplied by the natural logarithm of x. Substituting this back into the integral, we obtain the derivative of I with respect to t equals the integral from 0 to 1 of the quantity x raised to t multiplied by the natural logarithm of x, all divided by the natural logarithm of x with respect to x. Then, the natural logarithm of x in the numerator and the natural logarithm in the denominator cancel out, leaving only x raised to t dx. This equals the integral from 0 to 1 of x to the power of t with respect to x, which evaluates to the quantity x raised to t plus 1 divided by t plus 1, evaluated from 0 to 1. This leads to the derivative of I with respect to t equal to 1 raised to the power of t plus 1 divided by t plus 1, minus 0 raised to the power of t plus 1 divided by t plus 1, which simply equals 1 divided by t plus 1. Consequently, the derivative of I with respect to t equals 1 divided by the quantity t plus 1. Now, to determine the expression of the function I of t, we integrate I prime of t with respect to the parameter t. This equals the integral of 1 divided by the quantity t plus 1 with respect to t. This yields I of t equals the natural logarithm of the quantity t plus 1 plus c, where c is a real constant of integration, valid for t strictly greater than -1. To determine the constant c, we evaluate I of t at t equals 2. From the integral definition, I of 2 equals the integral from 0 to 1 of the quantity x squared minus x squared divided by the natural logarithm of x with respect to x. The numerator simplifies exactly to 0, making the integrand identically 0. Hence, I of 2 equals 0. To find the constant c, we substitute t equals 2 into our general solution. I of t equals the natural logarithm of the quantity t plus 1 plus c. This gives I of 2 equals the natural logarithm of 3 plus c. Setting this equal to 0, we obtain the natural logarithm of 3 plus c equals 0. Solving for c yields c equals negative natural logarithm of 3. Next, we substitute the constant c back into our general expression for I of t. This gives I of t equals the natural logarithm of the quantity t plus 1 minus the natural logarithm of 3. Applying the quotient rule for logarithms, we simplify this to I of t equals the natural logarithm of the quantity t plus 1 divided by 3, where t is strictly greater than -1. Now, recall our original objective, to evaluate the exact value of the integral I. This corresponds precisely to I of 3. All that remains is to substitute t equals 3 into our simplified expression. I equals I of 3, which equals the natural logarithm of 3 plus 1 divided by 3. This simplifies directly to the natural logarithm of 4 over 3. Hence, the exact value of the integral I is the natural logarithm of 4 over 3, which is approximately 0.2877. Next, we move to the computational analysis stage. To do this, let f of x equal the quantity x cubed minus x squared divided by the natural logarithm of x. Using numerical software, we plot the curve of this function as shown in the attached figure on the slide. Computationally, the area bounded by the x-axis, the vertical lines x equals 0 and x equals 1, and the curve of the function is found to be approximately 0.2877. Analytically, applying Feynman's integration technique yields exactly the natural logarithm of 4 over 3, which evaluates to approximately 0.2877. By comparing this analytical result with our computational verification, we observe that the values match perfectly. Specifically, they agree to 4 decimal places, confirming both the correctness of our result and the rigor of the methodology adopted. Therefore, the exact value of the integral from 0 to 1 of x cubed minus x squared divided by the natural logarithm of x with respect to x equals the natural logarithm of 4 over 3. Well, I hope you enjoyed this step-by-step solution. Keep practicing. Share this lesson with your friends. If this lesson was helpful, we invite you to like, share, and subscribe to Math Olympiad Academy for more advanced problem solving. See you in the next lesson!